Hi, I'm Bob Batcher, Executive Director of Primeplus Senior Centers, and this is Prime Time with Bob, and I'm here to talk to one of my favorite people, but not about one of my favorite topics. February 18th is right around the corner, and that's when we're going to start paying Uncle Sam, or getting ready to. And I'm with GM Ziller, who a lot of you may know from his years in tax service. How you doing, GM?
Doing fine this morning, still alive.
Now, okay, I just got some scoop on you that I'm going to just blurt out there, that you are the master tax preparer when it comes to Primeplus and working with seniors in that. But you don't like doing taxes? Is that what you told me in the pre-talk?
No, I said I don't like doing my taxes. I like doing everybody else's taxes. I just don't like doing my taxes. And I got into this because I thought this might help me have a better attitude towards taxes.
And has it helped?
A little bit. My wife pushing me to say that she wants to file on time is a better impetus than what I can generate for myself.
So who does your taxes?
Oh, I do them.
You do? Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Because for the last several years, how many taxes have you been doing a year?
Well, last year, of course, was terribly interrupted because of COVID-19, which will come up many times the discussion. But typically, the previous year, we did over 2,100 taxes. The previous year, it was just over 2,000. And that's at your facility. And it's all volunteers doing these. And we have to keep our volunteers happy, healthy, and wise so that they can come back each year and do other people's taxes.
It is amazing. And I didn't want to talk a lot about this because I don't want to promote it, because we didn't promote a word about it. We didn't tell anybody that we were doing it again this year. And I walked in the day after Martin Luther King's birthday and the phone didn't stop ringing. So right now, I will tell you very publicly that the month of February is booked. And that's been a service that we've been doing here at Primeplus for a long, long time. But I want to kind of roll it back just a hair. Why do you do it free when you're supposed to be retired? And aren't you supposed to be taking cruises and trips and reading and golfing?
Well, a lot of my volunteers do, in fact, take cruises and whatever. We just can't have their services during the time that they're gone. I feel like I have an obligation, at least during the tax filing season, which is normally towards the end of January through the 15th of April each year, to not do that because, well, like I'm kind of in charge of that site and I feel like I need to be there. So, and I try to do the best by each client, and we feel that we put out a quality product. And if it isn't a quality product for whatever reason, we can correct it.
Okay, and then you're going to get ready to work the polls when tax season's over, because that's just what you do.
Well, that's another volunteer effort.
Yeah.
You know, volunteering for the church, the civic league, and other things take up time. But this is really my major gig.
And it keeps you connected. Okay, now let's move into how do I get ready. The other day, this was put on my desk. It's my envelope for my W-2 for here at Primeplus. And I haven't opened it yet because I'm scared to look at it. But this will become the foundation of getting ready for my taxes. But for the ones that are listening, what should I have done?
Well, first of all, you need to open it up and lay it out flat and look at it and make sure that it's correct. Because some people come in and we find that they're going to owe a bunch of taxes because they didn't have enough withheld. Well, if that's the case, it's either because there's a mistake, because they also bring in their pay stubs that show that a lot more was taken out, so therefore there's a mistake on it, and they shouldn't do their taxes until they get a corrected W-2 form. But a lot of people also find that they owe taxes because they didn't have enough withheld. IRS at the IRS.gov website has a wonderful tool that will lead you through how to get the right amount of withholding, because the IRS is a pay-as-you-go outfit, even though the United States government actually isn't. But they want individuals to pay as you go, either by taking, if you have a job or you get retirement pay, taking out monies monthly or biweekly or whenever it is. Or if you don't do that, some people have a lot of investment income that doesn't have taxes withheld, so therefore they have to do estimated taxes during the year to come up with the amount of taxes that are going to be owed on their tax return when they finally prepare it.
Now, a few years ago, when I retired and went from getting a paycheck to getting a pension check, my world kind of got rocked because I wasn't really paying attention to the pension check. I would see it come into my account. And when it came to the end of the year and I started getting different forms in the mail, including my wife's Social Security check thing, I discovered that I wasn't paying as I went along. I had bought a van instead.
Not paying enough.
And then all of a sudden I got this huge bill for taxes. Not huge, but bigger than I'd ever done before. Is that because I owed more taxes or I just hadn't dispersed them throughout the year?
Well, if you retire from one job and start another one, you might, in fact, work yourself into a higher tax bracket.
Okay.
But the other kicker in this, I think, is that a lot of people don't realize that Social Security can, in fact, be taxable. In fact, up to 85% of it can be taxable if your other income is high enough. So therefore, if you suddenly start getting Social Security because you're at that age when you decide to take it, but you still have other income, and that income is high enough, and there's a calculation that our tax program does, fortunately we don't have to do it, that determines how much of that. And as I say, it's up to 85%, which can be a shock to some people because they don't think they need to have any money withheld from the Social Security to pay for that increased income due to this taxability.
So, and now you mentioned investments. For
Yes.
a lot of my life, I didn't invest a whole lot, but I did had some. I was putting money into the investments, so I wasn't paying taxes on them. But now that I've gotten older, I'm starting to get money from those investments. And depending on what kind,
annuities or just traditional IRAs for which you are starting to take monies out of, yes, you need to have taxes withdrawn, and you should start by thinking that 10% is probably the minimum that you should consider on those additional funds. And this is assuming that you have enough income so that you are in the taxability time frame. Of course, the Tax Act in 2017, up the ante for standard deduction, and it cut out a lot of people from itemizing deductions.
That got me.
And that means, and when that law first was instituted, we had a lot of people that all of a sudden found out that they were going to save a little bit of money on their federal return, but if you don't itemize on the federal return, you can't itemize on your state return, and that costs a lot of people up to $600 more in taxes in that year. So that's an issue for a lot of people.
Gio, I got to tell you, don't tell anybody else I said this, but my dad was a tax accountant. So he raised me to look for tax deductions. My father-in-law was a good Christian American who believed it was his civic duty to pay taxes. I have to tell you, both of them are in heaven today. I'm making my father-in-law very happy. Now, I want to go back to when I held up my W-2 envelope, which still is not open. You kind of looked at me in horror because there are things that I should be doing all along to get me ready so that April 15th or 14th is not a surprise. How do you get ready for your taxes?
Well, remember that some people have a lot more things that go into doing their taxes than others. So I take and the first of the year, I put a folder up that says taxes 2020 in this particular one. Okay.
Oh,
And so during the year, when I get things that should be in my tax folder, I just open my drawer and slip it into my folder that says 2020 taxes. And so therefore, when I get to around to doing my own taxes in 2021, I pull out the folder and voila, there it is. Most of the papers people get will come in the month of January.
yeah.
Some investment accounts and others, the IRS allows them to send it as late as the 15th of February. And some people just, some institutions just send it late. But generally, the month of January is when you get information from your employer, the people that are sending you annuities, or your traditional IRAs or the Roth IRAs or whatever. If you contribute to tax-free entities, like here's one that I have from the Virginia Opera,
Right.
or my church. Okay, they're
Or
supposed
those
to.
thank you notes you got from Primeplus.
Yes, that's already in the envelope. Okay.
So,
But they generally will be sent in a bill or in a folder, or excuse me, an envelope that generally says something like imported tax papers. Okay. And you don't know what's in there until you open them up. I like to open it up, throw this away. I pull this out of my recycle bin so I could find it, and look at it, and then put it in my folder.
and you don't worry about it until it's time to do your taxes. Unlike me, I pay my registration fee on my car all the time, on time, throw it in a pile on the table because I don't have that folder.
You have to, that's due by generally the 5th of June each year.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking about taxes then.
Well, I know, but if you itemize your deductions, like some people still do, then that's one of the itemized deductions, and you need to produce that in order for us to put it into your tax return. And to capture that, you need to put it in the envelope or the
Your folder.
or folder or whatever you're keeping it in, so you can keep up with it.
Okay, so in other words, when we get done with this conversation, I need to go check out my table.
Yes.
Where I have all this stuff piled up. And clean it. Okay. Now you're really sounding like my wife. So,
well, no, I have the same problem. I pile up stuff, and sometimes I don't think about putting it into the folder, but when I clean it up, and just before doing my taxes, that's one of my first things I go through. And if I've stacked stuff up, I got to make sure that none of that needs to go in that tax return thing.
So it's just not being neat; it's being really efficient and getting ready for your taxes. So, do you have a folder for 2021?
Some things are important and some things aren't. You know, keeping your tax papers are important, because when you receive a form that, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's in triplicate, because that's what most W-2s or 1099-Rs come in, and those are important to keep. But they can be in other forms, like this is the little postcard from the state that says, ha ha ha, you got a refund last year, and you're going to have to pony that up when you do your taxes. Ooh. Now, the Social Security is another one, and that information comes in January. You first get something that looks like this, and that is the forecast for the next year.
How much money you're going to make?
Yes, and you should take a look at that, obviously, and make
sure. The next day, I got the one, and here's what you owe.
This is the one that has pink on it in block 5 here, and that's the one you need to bring us. That's the one we want.
There's some boxes on there that are empty. Okay, we're out of time, but I got one big question for you.
Yes.
Since COVID, the federal government's been very generous, and we've gotten 2 checks. Are they taxable?
They are not taxable, but you need to declare how much you have received, both the $1,200 individual payment that we got first, and then the $600 that was authorized in December, but we may not have gotten it until January. It's still going to be in the 2020 tax return, those two. If there's any additional thing, those will have to go on the 2021 tax return.
GM, thanks for being like my priest and keeping me honest. And the public service you've been doing is just awesome. Good information. You just have to be organized. And I'm going to go take a folder home with me today and put taxes 2021 on it, because I'm sure not going to be ready for this year. And you'll find out why in a few days. Thank you for everything you've done.
You'll have to find all your stuff. That's all.
I'll find it.
Stacks on the desk.
Easy form. Thank you, sir, for everything.
I thank you for posting us, because that's the, if we didn't have our sponsor, then we couldn't do this.
Well, Primeplus it's our pleasure to provide this service through your hard work. So thank you. Hey, keep in mind.
I'm not sure that we have many other free tax services anymore, because there's lots of people, lots of organizations that have backed out of that over the last several years.
And you won't let me.
Well, so we'll see. I don't know.
GM, thanks a lot.
You bet.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe and stay connected. See you next time.